Hello all, welcome back to this series on the Raspberry Pi. Hope you got a glimpse of the Raspberry Pi background in our previous video. So previous video was more about giving you a glimpse of how the founders of this came up with the board and the background of it. This video talks more on the technical points. The first thing which we should start is Raspberry Pi board is based on the processor. So this is from Broadcom. So when we talk about a processor board, there are specifically differences between the microcontroller based boards and the processor based boards. Many people would have worked on the microcontroller based boards where they support the bare metal programming, whereas and along with that some real-time operating systems, but not the full-fledged OS, how the desktops do. So now coming to this processor, the Raspberry Pi, as we said, supports the Broadcom processor, and the official operating system that is supported is Raspbian. So now when we talk about this operating system, there are two ways to do this. One is take a basic Linux distribution, cross compile it, and then port it onto your Raspberry Pi so that it is compatible with your processor, or use an existing operating system image, download onto the Raspberry Pi, install applications, do whatever you want. So there are different ways you can do, whether you are a hobbyist or you are an educator or you are a thorough professional. So depending on it, you can choose whatever you want. So now coming to this Raspberry Pi, so there are several tools available for downloading this OS to Raspberry Pi, like the Noops, which is available, and you can use it for downloading the operating system into your Raspberry Pi. And then along with this Raspbian, there are several other operating systems that this Raspberry Pi supports. So when just to give you a glimpse, the Raspberry Pi is a distribution of, or we can say one of the branch of Debian, derived from Debian OS. Similarly, there are several Linux distributions available as a open source, which are derived from Linux operating system. So this Linux, like example, the ARM based one, the Chromebook based one, so and then the Android. So all these different operating systems which are there can be used on the Raspberry Pi. So we call all of them as distros or Linux distributions, because these are the branches that are derived out of the Linux. Now, one of the major advantage when we take this Raspberry Pi is you have a huge community that is supporting this. So example, if today we want to start with the Raspberry Pi development, you can directly check all the things that are available from this community, get support from them. If you are stuck, there are people to help you. So that's the kind of support that is available, where it's very easy for you to develop things and come up with this. And these days, on top of the Raspbian, what we are saying, the Raspberry Pi boards support Python or the Scratch. Python is universally used now for different things, like the test module development or script developments, or you can use over Raspberry Pi as well. Scratch is another from the different community of UK, where you can use it to educate the students mainly, where you have different GUI based features where you drag and drop and the codes get created in the background. So many features are available. That's where excites people to use Raspberry Pi. So now one more small thing, let us have a look at these two. So we were talking about the microcontroller and the processor. So the one I'm having in hand on the side is the red one is MSP 432 board. This is a microcontroller based board where many of us would have worked, and this is a Raspberry Pi 3 board which we have shown in the previous video, and there are many people who have worked on this and moved to Raspberry Pi 4 as well. Now if we load this and look at the different features of this board, you can see here at the center what, as a technical guy, we should not touch the board with bare hands, but just for the demo I'm just showing you. So the weight, one of the important thing is to handle the board this way rather than putting your fingers all across the board. The ESD might damage your board. So now coming back, so this is the processor you see here from Broadcom, and then if you see here, there are Ethernet ports. These are USB 2.0, whereas Raspberry Pi 4, if you see, supports USB 3.0. We have 2.0 support only in Raspberry Pi 3, and then you have a Ethernet jack here where you can connect it to the network, and then the pins you see here are the extended GPIO ports. There are 40 GPIO ports in Raspberry Pi which you can use to connect for your application. And then there are two ports here, the white connectors, FPC based connectors you can see here. These are the camera module and the display module, which are provided for your camera and display interfacing, the analog display interfacing. And then the connector you see here, this is the HDMI port. So you can connect your HDMI displays, the monitors, the PC monitors can be connected over here. Example where we have to use this is, let us assume you have the OS ported onto it and you want to check the booting initially and then run the system. You definitely need a display. So that's where most of the designers use HDMI, because it's the simplest thing and you don't need expensive cables like for the analog displays, and there are some disadvantages with respect to those displays as well. And now the black one you see here is the audio jack, the 3.5mm jack, which is provided for the audio applications. Now, one of the most important thing, if you go back here, you see a slot, SD card slot. So this is the micro SD card slot which is used for programming the Raspberry Pi. So whatever the image you want to download to the processor gets downloaded onto this SD card through the different options which you use for downloading. Now the black one you see here is the RAM. So these are the different parts of the Raspberry Pi, and we have given a basic introduction of Raspberry Pi and the ports that are available in Raspberry Pi. We will talk more into how to port the programs onto Raspberry Pi and then start working. So hope you enjoyed this, and please provide your suggestions, comments on this video and help us to improve further. Thank you. Thanks for watching.